are you today? Welcome to the show. People are normal and conversations with Thurman and a giant new Wednesday to us all. I'm Thurman. How are you? How you been doing? Did you go on vacation this summer? A lot of questions. Did everything work out for you? Did you solve any problems? Each time I have a show, first thing I want to ask you, did you solve any of your problems? If you didn't, maybe you should rethink the situation and apply different strategies and tactics to solve the problem. Because your problem can be solved, whatever it is, believe me. It's out there, but you got to make an effort. Yeah, all right. Okay. Have you read any books lately? Tonight's program is about books. It's about mental food, feeding your consciousness for powerful intuition. Mental food. What is mental food? We get mental food all the time. Every day during our daily life, we're always getting mental food. We're either thinking about something, we're either looking at television, reading books, or having conversations with others. But whatever you do, you gotta think. But what do you think about? How can you think? How can your vision, your mind, and your outside environment interacting together? How do you do this? Your mind is always on something. Most of the time you're thinking about, how you can solve your problems, or you're thinking about doing something better to help you in later on in your life. But you're always thinking about something. Right now, you're thinking about what I'm saying. Why are you thinking about what I'm saying? Not so much about what I'm saying, but how does it apply to you? What can you use from my conversation that's going to help you solve your problems? That's why people listen, not only at me, but at others, to solve problems. Now, maybe it's not a personal problem, but it might be a problem in your home with your children or your wife or your husband or something like that. And you want to know how can you make things better for you and your family and so forth. Mental food. You watch television. Oh yeah, television. But what do you get out of watching television? What kind of programs do you watch? Those programs, a lot of times, now psychology says yes, television does affect people's behavior, because that is a conduct, that is conducting behavior. But a lot of times we have something within us that sort of prevents us from being too influenced by it. But we are influenced to some degree, not violently and so forth, but because we have an attitude. We keep that attitude, and a lot of times things tick you off that shouldn't be ticking you off. You see, you probably don't go out there, and going crazy and messing around with people and nothing like that. But you probably still got an attitude. You got an attitude, and I'm not saying you do. I'm saying a lot of people who they binge watching television, watching all the different programs and so forth, and they have an attitude. A lot of times they don't know why. It ticks them off. A lot of times you can sit and watch television and somebody asks you, what happened? A lot of times you don't know what happened. Then you say, and then you got to regroup, get your game together so you can know what was you looking at. But that's because your mind be going. Your mind be going like machinery. Television, they had one time, years ago, they had what they called supplemental suggestion, and to make you do things. You know, they had one research project where the people went into the theater and they had supplemental suggestions where you to eat more popcorn, to buy more popcorn, and people started buying more popcorn. You know, so that's the way it is. And then they have all, and TV has an attitude. TV has, I gotta tell you, TV has a bad attitude. So sometimes you don't wanna watch too much TV. Sometimes you wanna do other things. Do other things to help yourself. Because we're gonna talk about television. I can tell you, I know about television. I know what's going on with it. And then that intuitiveness. You want intuitiveness. You want to be intuitive, but you want to be intuitive to a point where it's going to be good for you. But I'm not putting down the actors and actresses on television because they're doing their thing. But life goes on normally as it should. It depends on what you prefer. I prefer just ordinary dramas and stuff without all the carrying on that we have today. We are human beings. We are human beings. Mental food is all about human beings. Human beings read books. Now, other animals might watch television. Your pets, your cats, your dogs, or whatever pets you have, they might sit and watch television and listening. Now, I don't know if they know what they're listening to, but 9 times out of 10, maybe they do. Maybe they have learned mentally the English language, because when you give them a command, they understand the commands. So they are capable of understanding English like human beings, but they're not human beings. But we are human beings because we can read and write. And that's the difference. They might be other animals might be able to listen and then maybe to mimic English, but they cannot read and write. They cannot figure numbers. No, excuse me, let me say that, because spiders and their spider webs and the creativity of animals and insects, they have their own definitely numerical system in order to do that, because they are architects, great architects. So they can do those type of things. But read and write English, only human beings can do that. We are characters. We are characters of our own communication, of our own English, of our own language. We are the characters of it. We are characters of characters, you see. And those characters, without those characters, suppose we all forgot how to speak English or how to speak our language. What would happen? Or suppose you was in a country where everybody spoke another language and you only spoke English, and you couldn't, it would be chaos. So that's how important language is. We're talking about words of power and power of words. Okay, what we're going to talk about books. Alden Brunson, let's say Alden, me, myself, and Alden, we're going to ask him a few questions because he's an author. And he's been writing books, how important. And we're just going to ask him a few questions, and just to enlighten everyone and enlighten his readers on sometimes, why we do things, and what makes us tick. You know what I'm saying? That's simple as that. What makes us tick? Hello, everyone. Glad to be here tonight. I'm glad to be able to stand here and talk with you and sort of get acquainted with you about different things. The first question that was asked me was, why did I give my first book the name Coins of Aardvark. Well, if, for the people who have read Coins of Aardvark, they'll see that the grammar is kind of good, the spelling is atrocious, and things like that. But the Coins of Aardvark, I gave it that name because that's what it is. Coins of Aardvark. The words are the coins. You know, we're talking about a world in a spell. You know, it was like I thought of it that way. I thought of our life as a spell. We were in a spell, and we're trying to regroup ourselves. We're trying to rethink and recalculate the situation according to according to the way we were thinking. Like we were talking about words of power and power of words. So we were dealing with power of words, and we're talking about confusion. Sometimes mass confusion a lot of times, and we were dealing with mass confusion. And people were thinking outside. When they say thinking outside the box, I'm literally thinking outside the box and thinking outside their heads. So I said coins of Aardvark because those are the coins. Those are the coins that we deal with. Those are right now our GNP, the gross national product, is what we're thinking and how we're thinking and what's influencing our thinking. And we were in a program that really influenced thinking and changed, the way people were thinking, and a lot of times changed their lives, in various different ways. So I appropriately gave it the name, The Coins of Art. It's a good book. It's a story of my life, and it's a good book. But there is misspelling because I felt that we were people that were really spellbound and living in a spell. So I figured it was appropriate for the book. Although a lot of people said, hey, it's not appropriate for the young people to read, but that's the way it was. And to a lot of people who collect rare books and so forth, it was very important to them because I saw some of it in rare books going for about $250. So that's the reason. That's the reason why. Okay, yes, that was very enlightening. Uh, Living in the spell, being spellbound, it seemed like as characters, our characters was cast in a spell. Simple as that. So how else can you write a book if you're not influenced by the spell? But nowadays, people are learning how to correct spells. They call it political correction. They got to make those corrections. They got a job to do. Okay. Well, I hope that you have learned something from what he just said. Now, we got another question for you, Alvin. Why did you give your second book the name A Giant New Wednesday? Well, A Giant New Wednesday was written because, like I said, there was and still is a rethinking of ourselves and our environment, and a method to rethink, a method of vision. Now that method of vision, there's nothing wrong with it, actually. The only thing I think is wrong is because it allows, like, the internet, the World Wide Web, and the information system, it allows that system to manipulate things, and a lot of times, they do things that they shouldn't do. But in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. But according to the times, it's just people are, they have access to a different way of thinking, and they probably can use it a lot of times without people being too aware of it. But a giant new wisdom is just because, like I said before, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we have our lives continue on and on with experiences. I think we live the life that others have lived, many others have lived, and we just a new experience to that life, and we just continue going on. And once you become an experience of your life, you continue experiencing the events and the experiences of the other lives to come. That's why we are. Why we have instincts and intuitiveness, because that's the development of instincts, not just from nature, but from the experiences of other human beings. And that's what makes us, that's what have developed us from our primitive self and our old way of living and socially existing to what we have today. It's because of those instincts that we have from way back, from George Washington, and then other people in the olden days and so forth, and philosophers and stuff like that. So their lives go on and on and on. Maybe you was a philosopher. Who's living the life of George Washington? You ever heard of say, oh, he's living the life of Riley? That means you're living a good life, because Riley was supposed to be on television. He was supposed to be a good life. Living the life of Riley. So whose life are you living? Who are you sharing that life with? Or who is sharing their life with you? You're the new experience. And who are you going to share your life with in times to come? So this is why people are so concerned within about how our life, how the shape, form, and fashion of our social thinking, and how we're gonna maintain that, because we might have to experience it for ourselves. So that's a reason to be concerned about what is going to happen. You see, that's a reason why we have to know who we're elected to office, and electing the right people and things like that. So that's the way it is. Wonderful, wonderful. That sounds very, very good. That's a good reason for entitling your book Giant New Wednesday. Because, like I say, instincts, human intuition, there's a part of our mental food. It's a part of wisdom. From your mistakes. Right from wrong. What works for you, and what does not work for you. So you have to think about these things, and you got to know how to put them in the proper perspective. And the proper perspective that good intuition is like magnetic attraction. The future of success has a greater attraction on your life than the future of failure. So you want that future of success and happiness and well-being to influence your life to a greater degree than failure and unhappiness. So you do the thing. Books are important. Read the books. Feed your mind. Feed your characters with character, with good character. Read good books. Read books that are interesting and satisfies what you think the world should be like and how things should be. You know, the mysteries of life. You know, you like to read books that have good outcomes, you know, and things like that. You know, there might be a lot of things going on during reading the book, but at the final end, the bottom line is the book has a good outcome. So you want to read books like that also. Okay, Alden, here's another question for you. Now, like I said, this is a good one. Why did you give your third book the name They Lived in One? Oh, okay. They lived in a one. Well, living in a one is actually living in the world, living on earth, living on this planet, living in the atmosphere. It's all considered one thing. One thing with many, many, many different variations and degrees and so forth. So we do live in a one. A lot of people were saying, the first thing they thought about, live in a one, are you talking about you? I said, no. I wasn't talking about living within me and seeing things the way I do. Although that's happening. Because when you dream, you are dreaming about characters. Oh, I dreamed about so-and-so last night. Oh, I dreamed about so-and-so last night. Why did you dream about so-and-so? Because so-and-so was probably there. Quiet is kept. So you dream about it. We all travel. We all got that public spirit of freedom where we can. That's the way it is. Common sense. That's the way it is. That's the way life is. That's the way we do it. You see. So not that we should blame each other, because that's what's going on. Because nowadays we're blaming each other for the problems. Oh yeah, you must have called. You must have been when I. All of a sudden, all things went all awry and carrying on. You must have been there. So it ain't. It's not that way. It's not like that. It's like your character, you know, is a great character. Your character is a powerful character. Your character exists within the communications. Your character can be created, you know, or recreated, or your character can be remembered. You see, remembrance, memory, you know, and when you paying attention to what your life is going to be or what's going to be the outcome and things like that. So that's that memory. See, the reasoning. See, there are reasons why we do things the way we do. We have to look out for each other. No one is alone, ever. But it seems that way. But you're not, because that's the way life is. That's the way life is learning. But we're going to get into that some more. But it's not. Now, actually, if you read the book, and it's a good book, They Lived in a One is a jet aircraft. It's a jet aircraft. Not necessarily me or the way I'm thinking and seeing things, but a jet aircraft, a private jet, you see. So that's the reason why, for those who are confused, and now, you know, I'm kind of enlightening you about what it was. Yeah. Well, they lived in a one. What can I say? Lived in a one. Lived in a one is a private jet. All right. Let's go on with the show. Okay, Alden, why did you give your four books, your fourth book the name The Polyfox and the Polyfoxers. Okay, the Polyfox and the Polyfoxers. Oh, I like to remind you that my books, uh, Miss Neha the Pia have been so kind that she helps me write my books because I pay attention to her talent, her wisdom. You know, I pay attention to her fashion and the things that she be doing. That's like intuitive instinct. And I be getting a lot of general ideas from her. So she's a good model for my books, and yeah, she's a wonderful model for my books. And I see her as a polyfox, But now, originally the polyfox is like they lived in a one. It's like a number. Matter of fact, the lottery is, I think it's $700 million. Hey, if you win that lottery, why don't you toss some over here, so I can spread some of it around. Hey, but look, anyway, $700 million, that's what the lottery is, right? Okay, have you ever tried to play the lottery? They say the odds are 250 million to 1 that you would, if you buy a ticket, that you will win the lottery. So that means you would be one person and 250 million to win. So those are the odds. So a polyfox is like a number. It's going to be evasive. You think you got that right number. Wow, you think you got it right, but you don't got it right. That's a polyfox. See, because it's always, you can't just pinpoint how it's going to work out. It's always, it takes so many people. It's working so many people. Their hopes and their dreams and things like that. And, and television and stuff like that. Somebody knows what the number is going to be. A lot of people knows what within us. We know what the number is going to be. But we're not going to tell nobody what the number is going to be. It's going to be evasive. That number is going to polyfox all the time. And Miss DePia, Neha, I hope you're feeling better. And I hope that I hope that things are working out for you, especially with Tumhari Sulu. I like to see you there. And the Polyfox and the Polyfoxers should be out sometimes next year. And I like to use Neha's photograph on the cover because she would make the perfect polyfox, really. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight. This is Thurman and Alden, and happy birthday, Neha. Hope you have many birthdays to come. Hang in there, Miss Talented Lady. And see you next show. Thank you.